A man opened fire at a video game tournament in Jacksonville after he lost a game.
The killer has been identified as 24-year-old David Katz out of Baltimore, Maryland.
Remembering John McCain, a brand new push to honor the late senator and American war hero.
On Wednesday, his casket will be brought to the state capitol building where he will lie in state for public viewing.
Brand new reporting from Axios lays out the potential probes that Democrats will likely pursue if they flip the House.
That list is terrifying, and that is the Democrats' dream and anyone interested in liberty's worst nightmare.
The U.S. and Mexico could reach a new deal on NAFTA as soon as today.
We're going to either make it good or we're not going to have it. And we're getting very close to getting something I think that's going to be very fair.
He's the president of the United States, and you have to respect the office.
Do you have anything more broadly to say about the state, I guess, the discourse of race relations?
No, I just finished 72 holes and really hungry.
Tiger Woods had a good answer. They were asking him some questions, and he said, look, I just played a lot of golf. I'm starving.
Well, he did, but he answered the question 4 times. He's like, you got to respect the office. I've known Donald for 20 years. They played golf together just a few months ago.
Right.
So they just kept asking him the same question. Well, LeBron James said this. LeBron James said that. How do you feel? Listen, what do you want me to do?
I'm hungry.
Yeah, I'm hungry, and I respect the office. So
I think people respect that answer.
And Jim Brown, the legendary running back, says not only because I know it's not going to make me popular in the black community, but I'm voting for Donald Trump. I voted for him in 2016. I'm voting for him in 2020. So good luck.
We're going to give you some more of the context regarding what Tiger said in New Jersey yesterday. But could we be on the verge of a new deal? There are reports out, and in fact, the president has kind of telegraphed it because he was tweeting, we're on the verge of something. We could have a new NAFTA deal, not with Canada and Mexico, but maybe with just Mexico as early as later today.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And by the way, Mexico has been really a fair negotiator in this deal, I think, and putting the pressure on Canada. So the deal will come with Mexico first, then we'll move to Canada. Mexico's a very important trading partner for so many
Well, it's a trilateral deal, and Mexico has had an election. So we have one outgoing government, one incoming government. Right. The governments are working together to get a deal before they transition. If it doesn't get done in the next few weeks, it's start from zero again.
Right.
So I really think there's a push. Guess who's watching? Canada.
Of course.
Canada's going, wait a second, this is getting
We
done.
want in on this deal.
And then there's going to be pressure on Canada to come aboard. They're talking about automobiles, they're talking about manufacturing, and they're talking about wages.
And dairy.
Right.
Exactly.
And lumber.
It sounds like the sticking point has been the sunset rule where if after 5 years things aren't going well, we could just punt that. It sounds like they are negotiating on that. Nonetheless, the president said a couple of days ago, this is the only soundbite we've got him talking about this. Here he is out in Ohio.
People forget NAFTA was a disaster. I mean, does anybody remember? They emptied out entire states. You go up to New England, you go up to parts of Ohio and other places, and you'll see factories that, left many years ago because of NAFTA. It's a terrible deal. We're going to either make it good or we're not going to have it. And we're getting very close to getting something I think that's going to be very fair.
NAFTA passed 24 years ago. I remember Ross Perot saying, I hear a giant sucking sound coming from Mexico.
Jobs.
And there go our jobs. That's what the president's referring to. Hey, listen, prices came down, but a lot of jobs left.
But there are companies coming back, manufacturing companies, the companies that the Democrats said were gone forever. They're coming back, and this deal with Mexico, that will be another mark on the president's column of things I promised and accomplished.
Well,
people didn't think this could happen.
You're right, Rachel. The whole idea right now is for the United States and Mexico to come up with a deal by the end of August, and we're almost there. And then once that's done, then Mexico and the United States will stand side by side and say, okay, Canada, you're next. Come on, let's make a deal.
Meanwhile, at 4 minutes after the hour, we have a Fox News alert. The hunt for clues spanning more than 750 miles. Get this. This after a man opens up fire at a video game tournament, Madden 19, they called it, in Jacksonville.
Heavily armed agents raiding the suspect's home in Baltimore, Maryland overnight. The 24-year-old is accused of killing 2 and injuring nearly a dozen before turning the gun on himself and killing himself.
Phil Keating is live at the scene in Jacksonville with the very latest. Phil?
Yeah, the gamers traveled all over the country to come for this qualifying competition for the Madden Championship Series. The winner here will be able to go to Las Vegas to compete for $200,000. Among the restaurants and bars inside the Jacksonville Landing, a very popular entertainment complex, is the Good Luck Have Fun gaming bar. And yesterday, all of the fun dramatically turned to panic about 1:30 in the afternoon.
Got a lot of good games going on.
It's a lot. It's going to be hard to get them on stream.
It's not a lot. It's not a tough out today. Excuse me, not an easy out. Oh.
And that's the sound of the gunfire as it was happening. It was being streamed live over the internet. There were about 50 people still competing on Sunday, so dozens of people suddenly fleeing that place. The suspect has been identified as David Katz, 24 years old. Not only did he shoot 2 people dead, he then also wounded 9 others before turning the handgun on himself. Apparently, the sheriff believes he brought that handgun with him. According to one witness, the motive here was that this guy lost, and then his losing turned to fury, and he started shooting. Back to you in New York.
Hey, Phil, I got a question for you. Because this was all live streamed on Twitch, which is one of the Amazon platforms. Is there, and at one point you can see one of the other gamers, there's a red laser dot on the guy's chest.
In fact, Steve, look at this cover of the New York Post. There's the laser dot right on his chest.
Is there some suggestion that this guy, the shooter from Baltimore, may have wanted to kill somebody live on the air?
It is peculiar that he would bring his concealed handgun into the gaming tournament. This kid, the 24-year-old David Katz, not a kid, he was pretty well known in the gaming community. He had been interviewed before by these online streams, and he thought he was a really good player. But in previous tournaments, he certainly didn't pull out a gun. So it's unknown, really, whether he was hoping to do this live on the internet.
I'm sure there's going to be some psychological things, indications. He evidently gets eliminated the day before the shooting, and he's wearing the same clothes the next day when he shows up, kills these people, and then shoots himself.
Well, and they interviewed some people who said that he seemed kind of like a weird kid. So we'll find out more.
All right.
Pam Bondi is going to be up next. She's the Florida Attorney General, and she's definitely going to fill us in.
She will. All right, Phil Keating, thank you very much for the live report. Meanwhile, you will see live coverage of the memorial services for John McCain all week long here on the Fox News channel. You know, when he was shot down in 1967, he was near death. And the POWs there at the Hanoi Hilton did not think he would make it, but he beat all odds, and he wound up with an amazing American story.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that can mirror these stories. I've seen so many biographies on him, documentaries on him, and I still find out something new almost every day. His mom, by the way, still survives at 105 years old, 106 years old, and that is also amazing, especially when you look at him after crashing into the pond and being brought to that bed. He would end up in prison for 5.5 years, 2+ years in solitary confinement.
Yeah. Yesterday, we actually had a POW who was at the Hanoi Hilton at the same time. I was hosting Fox and Friends Weekend, as you know, and it was interesting. He said the first person that this POW saw when it was released from his captivity was John McCain, and they were in this square, and he saw this guy just sort of hugging and talking and slapping people's back. They've just been released, and he thought to himself, that guy's going to be a politician. And boy, was he right.
Yeah.
Boy, was he right.
I remember when they came off the plane, a lot of them back in the 70s. And in fact, in the 70s, you guys are too young for this, but in the 70s.
That's when I was born.
they used to hand out these silver wrist bracelets, and you would have the name of a POW on them. And at my school in Kansas, John McCain's name was on a bunch of them, and I had one of them, and I told him about that story. Last time I saw him, he said, I did not know that.
Wow.
But a lot of
Beautiful
people were
story.
calling for John McCain. They didn't even know him back in the 70s. Now the world knows.
But they were familiar with him because his dad was an admiral, so there was a lot of talk. It got as high as up at the president at the time, and he could have gotten out early, as the story goes. But he said, no, that's the order in which you're captured. I'm not getting out if I'm not next. Meanwhile, at 9 minutes after the hour, Tiger Woods didn't have a great 4-day tournament, and he had a post-game press conference as he got a lot of questions about the Ryder Cup team. One of the questions from one of the journalists was about Tiger Woods' view on President Trump. Now, you might have thought you would open up for a rant like what came from LeBron James, but not from Tiger Woods, who says he's had known Donald Trump for 20 years, and they played golf a short time ago. Dare I say they like each other. Listen to Tiger Woods handle this question.
He's the president of the United States, and you have to respect the office. And no matter who's in the office, you may dislike personality or the politics, but we all must respect the office.
Do you have anything more broadly to say about the state, I guess, the discourse of race relations?
No, I just finished 72 holes and really hungry.
I don't blame him. So the setup question was, he was asked about his relationship with Donald Trump. Was it professional or personal? And that's why he gave the answer he did. Just like Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer and Gary Player and Phil Mickelson down at Trump Doral in Miami, I just read, Tiger Woods has a villa named after him.
Wow.
An homage by Donald Trump. And there you can see one of the images of them. I believe that is at Mar-a-Lago.
Well, you know, if you're an athlete, if you're a celebrity, if you are even neutral on Donald Trump, that's a really, tough question, because you're going to get blowback from Hollywood, from other celebrities, from the media. So I think he handled it very respectfully. I thought it was very well done.
Because the reporter was asking, is he your friend, or did you play with him because he's president? Essentially, that's the question.
And the other news is Jim Brown said it on Hard Knocks and said it again. I voted for the president once. I'm going to vote for him again in 2020. I know that doesn't make me very popular with the black community, but I don't care.
Let us know what you think about Tiger Woods' answer, and you can email that in to foxnews.com.
That's right. All right. It is 7:12 here in New York City, and we've got some headlines.
That's right. We're going to turn to some headlines, and we're starting with a Fox News alert. Iran says it has taken control of the Gulf and Strait of Hormuz. The Iranians previously threatened to block the major shipping route as tensions grow between the Middle Eastern nation and the U.S. Iran test-fired a ballistic missile in that area earlier this month. Candidates making their final pitch to voters today before critical primaries tomorrow. In Arizona, Congresswoman Martha McSally, former state Senator Kelly Ward, and former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio are vying for the Republican nod for retiring Jeff Flake's seat. In Florida, Trump-endorsed Congressman Ron DeSantis squares off against Adam Putnam in the GOP primary for governor. And current Republican Governor Rick Scott is the favorite to win the Senate primary, setting up a showdown against incumbent Democrat Bill Nelson. Turning now to extreme weather, Tropical Storm Lane leaving Hawaii underwater. The Big Island slammed with more than 4 feet of rain and severe weather, causing dozens of landslides, one of them pushing a giant boulder onto a busy Hawaiian highway. Take a look. Dozens of people forced to evacuate their homes as officials warn of life-threatening flash flooding. Thousands are without power. And there's some good news for Hawaii, though. The team from the Aloha State are Little League World Series champions.
There you have it. Hawaii wins it. Noka Hawaii. Hawaii is the best.
Hawaii beating South Korea 3-0 to claim the title in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And those are your headlines.
All right. Thanks, Rachel. Meanwhile, Kevin McCarthy's waiting in the wings. Don't ask me how I know. I got that sense.
I can see him. He's right over my shoulder.
Okay.
Come on up,
so
sir.
So ask me.
You're the next contestant on Fox and Friends.
The majority.
Oh, thank you.